Guitar models with the most duds.
All guitars are perfect, Baxter.
No,
They're all unique.
Prepare thyself.
They're all made.
Guard thy loins.
There's no such thing as an accident.
No, so yeah, we're just gonna dig into. We were thinking about it because we get a lot of guitars and we play a lot of guitars. Yeah, we're just and we've talked to all of our friends out there that are also players and work in the shops and like, which guitars do you have the most sort of duds with of like a particular line? It falls on the manufacturers too, and then just the little tips and stuff where the secret lining might actually be there.
Yeah. Now we're not talking about like a model that was designed poorly. We're talking about like
correct
a good model, whatever, that everyone agrees they like and makes sense and is cool when it works. But you get it and like maybe the nut's not right, maybe the pickup doesn't work, maybe
the whole thing's just a lemon.
Yeah, it happens.
So click like, subscribe.
Hit that bell.
And let's dig into it right now, if we can.
Yeah, we can.
Please, John.
We can.
Can we?
We can.
So let's just kick it right into it. Gibson's had a few issues.
I don't know what you're talking about. What?
Few decades.
What, Baxter? No.
Let's get into it. So Les Pauls and SGs. There's a lot. That's sort of, they sort of are taken in the number, and then some of the Les Paul Juniors are taking like the number 1, 2, and 3 spots that we've heard from shops.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Gibson's known for like just, amazing consistency across the line. Like, I don't think anyone thinks that, right? I think everyone thinks, we talked about this before, you have to go search out the right one. And it's not that they're all duds, they're just not all great, but then I think there are some that you pick up and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, so there's obviously some QC issues and some stuff that should not have left the factory, and that seems to be like the number one. We're just going to talk through some of the guitars, and we're going to talk into the resolutions and our thoughts. Yeah. Gretsch has had a few.
I've had a Gretsch dud before in my sordid pasts.
We'd say out of all the guitars we receive here at Casino Guitars, Gretsch's require the most attention to set up once we receive them.
That's probably true.
A lot of them have like the the floating bridges, so non-attached. And you got to make sure that's like saddled in the right spot. You got to make sure everything's sort of intonated okay. The nut work is usually pretty darn good on the Gretches, I'll give them that, but they've also come from overseas usually, so there's a little bit of resettling.
Yeah.
Whereas, God, I'm seeing the praises of Paul Reed Smith again here. Whereas their overseas guitars, they actually come to the factory, get unboxed, get rechecked, and then go out. They might be, they're transitioning some of that for the Europeans because they're having distribution centers over there, so you don't have to do it here directly, but that will change the game for them too. I think it's already done, maybe. I can't remember.
But I mean, that makes a lot of sense as far as being able to keep your import line consistent, right? Because there's no way a guitar doesn't move crossing an ocean in a container, a shipping container. I mean, there's just no way.
Especially when like shipping containers get stuck, like with all like the stuff that happened over the past 2 years, and they're like containers just like backed up. Like, we're gonna be at the salt water for the next month and a half,
and we're all like freaking out to leave
your
your guitar like in your car for an hour.
No, like the dolphins thing. That's how dolphins talk. The next guitar's gonna have a warped neck.
Yeah.
I know. I hope it's not basswood. It's really gonna bend. It's crack maybe.
Ouch.
It's dolphins talking. PRS does a stellar knockout job of QC on their import pieces.
Yes.
Which they sell a lot of now. That SE line of Silver Skies, madness. I'm frustrated how good that guitar is.
Really good.
When people come in for that price range guitar, I'm like, should I get this or this? I'm like, it's hard to beat this one.
And have we ever seen a dud Silver Sky? We had one with the obvious like fret damage. I don't know if that's a dud though. That like something had to happen in shipping, with that one.
But that's questionable because to some people, like the Silver Sky doesn't have that Fender magic. So you could be like, is the Silver Sky dud if you're looking for a Fender?
But it's hard because you got to say like
it's a different thing.
It is what it is, and it's always that.
It's
you like that thing or you don't. It's like Popeye.
It's like the bad guy from Popeyes.
Yeah,
not the restaurant, but the cartoon.
Right.
Or the restaurant. There might be a bad guy there. I don't know. But who has a bad guy at Popeyes? That's like the greatest restaurants. I hope we get one at Southern Pines.
We could get one.
There's a new fast food place coming in on Morganton near the movie theater.
Do you know
we don't know what it is yet. It could be another McDonald's, which would be fine because ours in Aberdeen sucks. Right. But which I'd be super cool with because the ones in like West End and Sanford are amazing, and Pinehurst.
All right.
Yeah, but Popeyes would be.
We're getting a Jersey Mike's and an IHOP in Rockingham.
Game changer.
The Jersey Mike's for sure. The IHOP, My children like those strange little.
I do not like
pancakes with
IHOP.
face.
It kills me.
I don't really like
It's
it.
so expensive.
They just good Lord, but they just Hey.
So I went there once when they opened here, and I was like, that's it for me. I got 3 kids. Nope. Now let's get into Martin's for a minute.
No, Martins are funny because
Don't give the answers yet, but
I do feel like there was a time for Martin where
70s.
70s.
And there was also the time in the middle 2000s where there was some bridge issues. Yeah. The bridges were popping off. So a lot of guitars were being sent back for reworks from the shops before they even made it to the consumer, which is kind of a neat thing. So you might have had a guitar that's been sent back and reworked, and it's fine. It's safe. It's perfect. It's good. It's just...
Don't panic.
Oh my God, I have a 2008 Martin. It's a dud. No, it just had they had some bridge issues with the glue. It wasn't applied right. The guy doing the glue was maybe sniffing some of it.
It happens.
And then he's probably gone now, off to greener pastures.
Or not.
They don't leave Martin. You don't leave Martin. That's a good gig. I gotta call Eric up again. He gave me a call the other day. I gotta say hello.
Hit him up.
He's like keeps growing these little babies. These beautiful little humans.
It happens.
He works over at the Martin World. He's awesome. But no, so they've had some issues in their time. But let's get into what these issues actually are. And it really comes down to one thing, one major thing besides the duds. But let's get into that first, the setup.
I think a lot of people have convinced themselves that they don't like Martins because, there's a point, especially in time, maybe less now, but where, Martin traditionally, especially if you go play a Dreadnought, they're set up, they're made with bluegrass players in mind, and bluegrass players
are horrible people.
Well, on top of that, they play really hard, they want to be loud. Their action's not crazy low. They don't want buzz. They want that thing to ring out.
You just made them sound like badasses. Like, they play really hard. They play really loud. It's like these guys. I'm thinking like punk, like da, 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 but then you see them, and it's like no.
Yeah. I just watched the
guitar up here.
I went into this rabbit hole of like the flat picking championships.
Oh Lord,
for like the country the other day, where they're dudes just sitting up there and they're like khakis, But I mean, like friggin' shredding, and you're like, oh, it makes you feel really bad about yourself as a player.
You realize you're not good at guitar.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
at all anymore. When you see like a great,
I can't think of the guy's name who was played for Ricky Skaggs. He won he was maybe 2020 or something like that. He was the flat picker. But anyways, they're stupidly good. Anyways, those guitars with a bone saddle and a nut, right? You can't really go higher, but you can go lower. So those guitars, they come so that you can lower it if you want, but.
Now you just said something key there too. You said bone, saddle, and nut. Let's jump back to Gibson. So a lot of the Gibsons, they historically are creating them as they were done. So you're having like a nylon nut sometimes, right. And that's not good. It doesn't stay in tune. It's not intonating. It wears out differently. We have a lot of artists that we've reached out to and talked with about it, and like they're having huge issues with their guitars, and it just requires a really good setup.
Yeah.
But at the same point, then I'm like, why doesn't it just leave the factory that way? Because like the normal player of this guitar is not a touring musician. That is the 1%er.
Right.
The normal person just wants to play it and have joy, and they don't want to be playing it and tuning it as one of my friends, he just sent me a video of him playing his awesome custom shop Gibson, and he's playing A chord, and then it keeps going out of tune as he's playing it. It's the nut. You know it's a nut, and we're just laughing at it. It's like, oh, and he's doing the same thing. He's a live show in front of 1,000 people. Same thing's happening. He's like, I just can't do it anymore. Can't do it. I'm like, you got to do it because it says Gibson on the headstock and it's cool. And it sounds great. It's just out of tune. Do you want your guitar to be in tune?
Right. There's ones out there that stay in tune. And some of those, I guess, I'm sure it's people have reworked them or put a new nut on there. But one of my friends in Nashville, we went on a 335 hunt one time, and he found what he thought was the one. And it just, I think he took it to 2 or 3 different luthiers after he bought it. It never would stay in tune for else.
And like, see, I'm stupid enough to where I don't really care about that.
You are.
When like I just enjoy the joy of playing the guitar, and I know there's certain issues where I can usually fix the tuning part. That's a nut issue. I feel like almost all the time. And sometimes it's like, there might be a gear or something going on, it's squirrely, but I can work around weird intonation and a bump in the fretboard or something. So if one note frets out, I just don't play that note. And I adjust around it, and maybe I adjust the action slightly. That's the great thing about certain saddles and bridges. That's why I love Strats.
Yeah.
It's a really quick adjustment. Like, oh, well, that's not exactly where I want it. On my micrometer, I don't use a micrometer or any of those little doohickeys when I'm setting a guitar up. I just set it up to how I like it and feel it because I've been doing it for way too long. I need a hobby.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's sort of a hobby. It's kind of a hobby.
I guess. I watching horror film trailers when my wife doesn't know what I'm watching is one of my favorite hobbies too, because she hates horror films. Oh, yeah. I'm like, what? It's a movie called Smile. It can't be scary.
Man.
The Kubrick Smile.
Maybe it is.
It looks super scary in like a fun way.
Yeah.
There's and then Terrifier 2 is another one that
Terrifier.
I had the trailer up. I was like, oh, this looks cute, and she's like, oh, it's like, because I didn't show her the title of it. It's just like a clown, right. But it's like it's people apparently like getting sick and leaving the theater because it's so violent.
I mean,
sounds like a fun casino night out.
Terrifier 2.
It's a clown. Yeah, I think you need to see Terrifier 1 first.
Clowns are terrifying. Did you? I'm assuming
I haven't seen it. No, I haven't seen it. Okay. But
so a double feature then.
But I did All Quiet on the Western Front trailer dropped over the last weekend, I think, or last week. It looks amazing. It's in German. They spent millions on this thing, full scale World War I budget. You read the book. You remember that?
I do.
Okay, good. Because my wife had never read it. I was
really?
Like, what? Have you not read All Quiet on the Western Front?
I thought you had to read that.
I know. I thought you did to go. She didn't go to a proper high school though. She went to like I don't know. I guess sort of like a wood shop high school.
That's fine.
It's all right. That's what happens when you go to school in Virginia. Let the hate start, and okay, moving on. No, so it's the setup. It's the setup. It's like it's the economy, stupid. When they were telling like James Carville telling Bill Clinton that during his campaign.
Like it is the setup, but I do feel like sometimes you just get a lemon. You get one.
We've had a couple lemons.
Whatever doesn't matter.
And I can count on like literally one hand like the duds I've had from Taylor guitars. Like not many at all.
No.
We had a 312 or 22 at one point. I was like, this guitar is dead. We checked the setups and everything on it. Just there was no resonance, and I was like, I gotta send this back. We've had. There's been a couple Fender custom shop duds.
Just a couple.
And golly, even one more like.
And they didn't go to customers. They went
back.
You know, that's why you order from a dealer that you trust.
Well, that's something. Even talking about Fender custom shop, the master builders, like some of the best builders in the world of guitars, but you might not like the way that guitar is set up.
Right.
Because like the Fender custom shop setup artist is like sometimes the master builders do it themselves and they do it differently and maybe not as good. I'm doing this. I don't know.
Or at least maybe not as universally good. Maybe it's what they like. Maybe not what you love. But that's not a dud. That's just you got to know when you just need to tweak some things, or when the guitar is just like something's not working. No, but
sometimes with acoustics you can just get a dead piece of wood. Electrics too. Like I play electrics on a string. There's no resonance. Like the pickups can like do the heavy lifting and make that guitar magic-ish. But there's a dud hidden underneath. So it happens.
It absolutely does.
Do you think Derek's going to feel better at the end of the day?
I hope that he does.
Think he's going to get a nap later?
I hope he does.
Speaking of that, you had a super gig this weekend.
I had a great gig this weekend.
Johnny played down in Wilmington? Is that where it was?
The Rusty Nail.
It sounds like where I met my first grown lady. But why was it so good?
Yeah. It's hard sometimes to quantify these things, but they were excited to have us. People actually bought tickets. They weren't at the bar like yelling while we were playing. They were, like sitting there watching. So a little more of a listening room environment. And it was just, there's a vibe when people appreciate what you do and they're into it. And they're
you came
engaged.
in like a little schoolgirl. Like, yeah, it was neat to see that.
It's those are the gigs that sort of like, allow you to take the abuse of the next however many months.
Because you and I kind of had one before that was a little bit, not abusive, but just weird.
Just
I don't know if it was a gig, it was something. But no, then you had a video that had on Facebook, it was 75,000 views. 85. I'm sorry, I underplayed you. No, just like, you doing what?
Just playing the old dumb slide guitar.
I was hoping it was like you just having dogs running your kids at full speed.
It was such a random, it really was. I mean, so I got the Ruth guitar. The guy in Georgia, Chris, made me a guitar. And it was the first time, still, speaking of setting up, I'm still sort of getting the setup dialed in how I like it. But I wanted to put something up of it. I did, me just playing to like a little blues track. And for whatever reason, it got 260-something shares and 85,000 views.
And that brought some people to the show, I think.
It did.
And that makes my heart happy.
It made my heart happy.
And so that's a neat moment that is neat when see, this is the proper usages of social media and the interwebs.
I feel like that's
just
true.
Positivity and sharing cool guitar things and having a good time and watching kids get hit by dogs at high velocity. Hilarious, always.
That is funny.
I don't know why it's so funny,
but it is.
Like I've seen it happen to my mother where it broke her legs and stuff. That was not as funny, but
that's less.
There's a small part that was kind of funny still. Oh Lord!
Maybe until you realized her legs were broken.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, I think I'm broken. I'm like, it's not funny anymore. But God, it was crazy. Yeah. Well, again, thanks for joining us. Remember, if you have a dud, it might not be a dud. It might just be the setup that needs just a little tweaking. And don't be ready to throw it in the fireplace. Don't be like, I'm sending it back to the manufacturers.
Fingers crossed.
You might have a gem. Or a dud. It happens. Well, anyway, let us know your thoughts, your experiences, your journeys with the duds, the reclamation of duds, and the freeing of duds.
All about duds.
Is duds a candy?
Milk duds.
Okay, thank you. I knew that felt like something.
Ever.
I don't like milk duds. My wife likes them. I don't.
Unless you have like braces when you're a kid.
Yeah, I still have braces, so it's just awkward, especially when I'm trying to get that first kiss.
You need to stick together.
Yeah, it's just gross. I had a friend who like he ran into a tree and his braces got stuck to the tree. It was so funny. It was the best thing ever. Brian Cox, I think it was him.
Yeah, out of these things.
I'm calling
these things don't happen in real life, and then the lecture's like, oh yeah, no,
no, it was Brian Cox. He lives at Wilmington as well, where you just were.
That's where I just was.
Wilmington, North Carolina, I believe.
There you go.
So if you're friends with Brian Cox, I think he also skied into a tree and broke his crotch. And one of the Cox brothers did this. The Coxes were notorious, crazy people in high school, and amazing family, and they did some crazy stuff. So if you're friends with any of the Coxes, Matt, Pete, or Brian, the boys, Jen is a different last name now, which I don't know. Gorgeous was my babysitter. I thought she was the prettiest thing ever. But if you're friends with the Coxes, give them a shout out from Casino Guitars too.
Do you know how many Brian Cox there are probably in the country?
In Wilmington area. In Wilmington. And he
God, there's probably, well, anyway.
Cox,
it's going to be fun.
COX.
It's going to be fun.
He played soccer. He was an O'Neill Falcon, I think.
There you go.
He's really mean on the soccer field. It was good. That's what you want. You want a mean soccer player.
You got to be a little mean.
Mean one. Good one.
Got to be a little mean.
Him, Corey Rice, and Shaw Allison, and John McCall. Whew, some brutalizers. That's all I remember.
Down the old memory lane.
I was not part of that cool posse. I got to sort of watch. Like, good job, guys.
Way to go.
I play guitar. See you, young life.
That makes me so happy. Oh, true.
Oh, I want to cry. Okay. Have a great day.
We'll see you next time.
See you in the multiverse.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe.